special welcome to our First Take fam for traveling. We appreciate you all. And it is officially prime time in daytime, one of the greatest of all time, Deion Sanders. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you.
Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. I have to admit, while I'm here in Houston, as happy as I am to see y'all, I am not satisfied. Not only is the crew in the house, but we got prime time, the greatest cornerback in the history of football. Give it up. Give it up. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's going to be fun.
Yes, it is.
It's going to be fun. We got some other great guys coming up. Dan Marino, might have heard of him. Yeah. Brandon Marshall. Terry Crews will stop by. So we have a ton coming up.
And I got to work with Brandon Marshall. He's going to show up on the show, too. We got to talk about Brandon Marshall's hairdo. I'm just telling y'all right now. We got to talk about the hairdo.
Alone. You got other things to talk about besides his hair.
There we go.
Deion, we know Atlanta loves you.
And I love Atlanta.
Are you going to give him that much love that you're going to roll with the Falcons?
I'm not going to say that. Just because my name is up in the rafters, just because it's known as my house, just because all those things are true, that does not necessitate the fact that I may ride with Atlanta. If I ride with Atlanta, it's going to be because what they produce on the field.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do they produce? Tell us.
Oh, what they produce. First of all, you got probably the MVP of the league, a player that has ascended himself into the likes of a Tom Brady and an Aaron Rodgers. You got probably, arguably, the best receiver in the league in Julio Jones, that you're going to have to deal with it with one or two persons. You got most likely the best pass rusher in the league coming off the edge as well in Victor Beasley. Should I continue?
Yeah, I got to interrupt. I heard probably. I heard likely. I heard possibly. I did not hear definitively. And what I'm wondering about when it comes to you, Primetime, is this. I hear all of these different things coming out of your mouth.
True.
At the same time, let me throw in another word. I sense a little trepidation on the part of the Atlanta Falcons.
First of all, I didn't bring my encyclopedia to define what intrepidation is. But I like Atlanta in a plethora of ways. But yet and still, I've never picked against Tom Brady.
But Stephen A. is right. Like, when you were playing, no one would say, Deion Sanders, arguably the best corner in the game.
They did. They tried that for
but they lost that argument if they tried to argue against it, right?
Yes.
So is Julio Jones the best receiver in the game?
No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because there's a guy in Pittsburgh named Antonio Brown who is so special. Julio gives you so much, but Antonio is going to give you 16 games every year. And then he gives you fourth down, just in case you need that as well. So when I'm talking about receivers, you talk about a guy who can line up anywhere. Julio can do that. You talk about a guy who can score from anywhere. Julio can also do that. But when you talk about a guy that's going to definitively give you 16 games without injury, that's Antonio Brown.
Primetime, when I look at this Atlanta Falcons team, here's where I'm a bit troubled. I see weapons everywhere. I see Matt Ryan. I see Julio Jones. Mohamed Sanu, big pickup from Cincinnati. Taylor Gabriel can ball.
Yes.
I'm looking at the combination out of the backfield in terms of Freeman and Tevin Coleman. Pass catchers out of the backfield, I think makes them lethal. Everybody's been talking about their offense, yet somehow, some way, they were 11-5. I remember watching them get stomped in Philadelphia by the Eagles. I'm wondering about this team defensively. I just have a hard time literally grasping how potent this team is collectively.
You're so intelligent, my friend.
I do know that. I do know that.
That's why the probably was associated with my former statements, because of the defensive side of the ball. I love what they're doing offensively. I think really the game plan is going to be to keep the ball out of Tom Brady's hand, because your defense will be exposed, a la Dallas Cowboys, if you turn the ball over expeditiously. You can't just go down and score and give Tom Brady the ball. He's going to put up some points because they have that kind of propensity offensively to do that with the New England Patriots.
So nowadays, with these 5 receiver sets that guys are running, and it's more important than ever to be able to beat your man as a receiver. And not guys like you because there was only one you, but here and there you actually have cover corners.
No, it ain't no such thing as no cover corner.
Well, you were a cover corner.
I wasn't no cover corner. I was a corner. It's no such thing as a cover corner.
A
corner's job is to cover. That's just like saying a passing quarterback. That's his job to pass. A cover, ain't no such thing as, and I hate that. The reason I hate that, because that distinguishes us as we don't want to contact or we don't want to tackle. Now, our job is to cover. That's what we do.
But nowadays it's harder than ever with these very athletic receivers and the fact that there's so many of them that are being, in these sets that they're running. Do the Falcons have it in the secondary? And Tom Brady can, everyone's talking about the Falcons offense. Tom Brady spreads it around and has a bunch of good receivers.
I know this is a wonderful game, maybe the largest game in our country, but the Falcons just stumble up and get here. They got him for a reason, not just for a season. These guys can play the game. They proved that they can play the game week in and week out. Yes, we're going to alarm the offense because they're the most prolific offense in the NFL this year, but defensively, they've been balling as well. No, they're not a shutdown defense by any means.
They're not a shutdown defense, but let me get back to what you just said. They didn't just stumble to get here. Some would say, damn it, they might have tripped. Here's why. Here's why. Seattle Seahawks. Problems with their running game. Problems with their offensive line.
That ain't our fault.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Not only that, friction within the locker room. They didn't seem to be as together as they were in the past. In the case of the Green Bay Packers, an abundance of injuries. Aaron Rodgers devoid of the weapons he was accustomed to having. Even though Jordy Nelson was out there, he wasn't 100%. Devontae Adams got hurt. You got your relying on dudes by the name of Geronimo Allison, for crying out loud. I didn't know the man's name until a month ago. So I guess what I'm saying to you is when you're in Atlanta, you ain't giving back the NFL championship game.
I'm exalted.
But
I'm insulted.
Why?
I'm heavily in. I'm
listening.
You insulted me, and you're playing with my intelligence right now because you want to dismiss the toil, the rigor, the work that the Atlanta Falcons put in to get to where they are. First of all, I watch this show. I watch it every day. Matter of fact, if I don't catch it, I TiVo it. That's how much I got love for you. Now
and then you text me to complain
on every show. You're swinging Aaron Rodgers' pom-poms. You're his cheerleaders. Now you...
They both are.
Yeah.
Because he's the best?
Now he's not the best. Yes. Now you're going to this Tom Brady is the best. Now you're going to dismiss the fact that Atlanta is who they are. Dallas Cowboys this, Dallas Cowboys that, and Aaron Rodgers beat the brakes off the Dallas Cowboys.
He didn't beat the brakes off of
Aaron Rodgers.
I didn't praise Dallas.
I know that one. But I'm talking to your team.
Yeah.
This is a team.
I understand.
First
not when it comes to the Cowboys.
Not when it comes to the Cowboys. Then Aaron Rodgers does what he did against the Cowboys, and you talking about Atlanta Falcons dismantle that, and you're going to minimize that. You're talking about Seattle. I know Seattle has a myriad of problems, but that wasn't our fault when you come into my house like you were going to really do something with Russell.
You just used the word R?
Yeah.
I thought you said R.
I'm in the rafters, baby. So I said ours. A lot of people associate themselves with teams, and they don't have that ability to hang in the rafters. Every time I go to Atlanta, I can't even watch the game because I'm looking up at me.
I got it.
And if you would have kept playing baseball, they'd have you with the Braves, too.
Nah, that's all right.
No, you were good.
Dan, though, which matchup is most critical, the matchup within the matchup here, that you're going to have your eye on?
Most critical is Julio Jones versus them. Because you can't deal with one person for Julio Jones, so you're going to have to attribute two persons for Julio Jones, but now that leaves you vulnerable in the running game. So you're going to have to double Julio. You're going to have to. So I got to run that way. And Julio, they're not going to sit Julio out there like they did Antonio Brown and just leave him out there idle and not motion him and put him in situations for him to be successful. Their offensive strategy and philosophy is way more advanced.
Well, guess what? So you thought I insulted you. Now you insulting me because, excuse me, your jersey is hanging in the rafters in Atlanta. Why? Because of what you did on defense. But you come on this show and all you've been talking about is Atlanta's offense. I'm sorry. Can we have a conversation about Atlanta's secondary? That young secondary going up against the great Tom Brady? Any explanation, sir?
Yeah, I love Tom Brady, and I love what he brings to the table. The reason I love Tom Brady and what he brings to the table is because it seems like Tom Brady goes to the park and say, give me him, 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 and him. And, you know, I could win that game. You could take him. Yeah, you could take the Julios. You could take these guys. You could take those guys. Just give me Hogan. Yeah, give me Hogan. Come on over here, Hogan, and I'm going to make you a hero. You got to be 45 and over to understand Hogan heroes.
That's right.
That's how bad Tom Brady is. But on the defensive side, Atlanta's task is not that difficult. It's really not. You could bump and run these guys. You could deal with these guys. The main guy they got to concern themselves with is the guy who I love, the guy that I'm telling you is a bona fide star, and everybody overlooks him maybe because of his ethnicity, and that's Julian Edelman.
Well, we're going to get into that a little bit later.
I hope so.
I hope so. You ain't leaving without talking about that subject. We will definitely touch on that. But I'm still shocked at what you're saying because I'm thinking about the greatness of Tom Brady, which you have obviously validated. I'm thinking about an Edelman, an Amendola, a Hogan, for example. I'm looking at all of these weapons. LeGarrette Blount coming out of the backfield has run well for them. I'm just saying to myself, considering Atlanta's young secondary, I thought you would sound considerably more worried about them than you are.
I'm not.
Despite their youth?
The reason I'm not, because they score at such an alarming rate. They get you off your game. Your game plan could be this, but when Atlanta starts to get that ball down the field and score and produce touchdowns, that throws your whole game plan out of whack. You cannot consistently do what you propose to do because of the capability of Atlanta scoring.
We've seen high-powered offense fail to show up in the Super Bowl. A matter of fact, one of them was the New England Patriots the year that Tom Brady threw 50 touchdowns, and Randy Moss was catching about 23 or 24 of them. We've seen high-powered offenses.
You haven't seen a high-powered offense with a running game and a passing game that's very complementary of another. You haven't seen a high-powered offense with the quarterback that's probably the MVP, with a receiver that's arguably the...
Well, then why did they lose 5 games? Then why did they lose 5 games?
They lost 5 games because they lost 5 games. We don't worry about yesterday. We deal with today.
Now, speaking of the running game... Speaking of the running game, isn't that what Belichick's... Because who said you got to pick your poison with this team, right? They can throw it. Devontae Freeman said, I think Belichick's going to try to load up the back, load up the outside, and dare them to run, because what else can you do? And they got a good run defense, but that leaves Coleman and Freeman in a good position, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they're going to do that. And they're going to run the ball, and they're going to be successful running the football against the New England Patriots. And just when you think they're going to run it, here comes Julio. Now, you got to understand, Gabriel, these unsung guys are going to be the guys who comprise this Super Bowl victory for the Atlanta Falcons.
That's where we going.
That's what I'm feeling right now. That's what I'm feeling right now. That's what I'm feeling right now. I don't know about Friday or Sunday, but I know about right now, this is what I feel.
And if they lose, is it still me and us and we?
I got to go down with the ship. I got to go down with the ship. I got to go down with the ship because...
Against Bill Belichick.
I've never picked against Brady in a major game, but this could be the first.
Oh, Brady's lost.
I want to go back to one of the things you mentioned earlier. It's a bone of contention on the show is obviously who's the best quarterback, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady.
Brady.
Can you tell them why, please?
Because Tom Brady does more with less than anyone.
You act like Bill Belichick isn't a great GM.
No, Bill Belichick is really good. He hadn't played a game yet last time I checked.
But he's choosing the talent. He's choosing the personnel.
It's a whole lot of folks choosing talent amongst the NFL, and none of them have the capabilities and the understanding in the resume that Tom Brady has. Ask any NFL football player. See, you asking other guys. You asking people that really ain't on the field, ain't touching the field. Ask any NFL football player about the man named Tom Brady.
Now you know. You and I roll.
Yes.
My man. It's interesting that you say this because, you know, back in the day, you know, I recall a time when there was this dude, Prime Time, in Atlanta. He was a bad somebody.
Yes, he was.
Now, we knew good and damn well the team wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
We knew the team wasn't going nowhere.
True.
But you still watched because of Prime Time. And what you were able to say was, damn, this dude